She saw her husband only once, on their wedding day, before he disappeared. Now divorced and finally free, Sarah never expects Lucien Vance to reappear in her life, let alone fall for her without realizing she was once his wife. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Every story here is short but meaningful, crafted to inspire or connect, and maybe even change the way you see things. So sit back, relax, and let today's story take you somewhere new. Let's begin. 3 years ago, Sarah Marshung stood in a golden-lit cathedral, clutching a bouquet of peonies, unsure whether she was attending her wedding or a staged play. Her husband, Lucien Vance, the elusive heir of the Vance conglomerate, had arrived 5 minutes late, said his vows with calm precision, and left before she could say hello. No kiss, no wedding night, no explanation. It was a contract marriage, arranged for mutual business benefit. She'd agreed because it came with a promise, funding for her architectural firm, and creative freedom. But Lucien had vanished, as though marrying her had been a transactional tick on a list. He never contacted her again. Until 3 weeks ago, she signed divorce papers sent via courier. No message, no name, just legal ink and a final freedom. Sarah was savoring her newfound singlehood with wine and solitude in her minimalist apartment, overlooking a misty London skyline, when the doorbell rang. Standing there was a man, disheveled, tall, dark-haired with sharp cheekbones, and unmistakably familiar.
"Please,"
he said, breathless.
"I need your help."
She blinked. Lucien? He stared at her, puzzled.
"Do I know you?"
Before she could respond, he collapsed. The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and too many secrets. Sarah sat beside a woman, bleeding from the shoulder. Her name was Celeste, Lucien's girlfriend, or maybe former girlfriend. Sarah had operated on instinct and architectural knowledge to dislodge a shard of glass from Celeste's shoulder using her drafting tools before the ambulance arrived. Lucien appeared at the door moments later, pale and breathless.
"You saved her."
He said, eyes wide. Sarah nodded, arms crossed.
"You're welcome."
He looked at her, then frowned.
"What's your name?"
Sarah Marshung.
Something shifted in his expression. He repeated the name like it meant something.
"Sarah, the architect."
She raised a brow.
You know me.
"Of course.
He said, his voice low and reverent.
You won the Lucent Horizon Prize last year for your sustainable housing project and the Paris Commission? Brilliant work."
She blinked.
That's very specific.
"I follow your career."
Do you follow all your ex-wives' careers?
His brow furrowed.
"Ex-wife?"
Silence. Then realization.
You...
His eyes widened.
You're her?"
Lucien followed Sarah to her firm's rooftop garden the next day, confused and clearly shaken.
"I had no idea.
He said.
They never showed me a photo."
You never asked.
She replied, watering her plants.
We were married, and you didn't even try to find out who I was.
It was complicated.
That's rich.
He sighed.
"Sarah, I didn't even want to marry. It was my father's arrangement. I was in Colombia when they called me home for the wedding. I barely had time to read the contract, let alone meet the bride. Then I had to leave.
Why?
My brother was kidnapped. I had to make it look like I wasn't involved so they wouldn't target me next."
She looked up, her expression unreadable.
"I couldn't tell anyone. And by the time it was over, I thought you would have moved on, that you wouldn't want to hear from me."
She scoffed.
So you left a stranger at the altar, and when life calmed down, you didn't bother correcting that.
I watched your success from afar.
He said quietly.
I didn't want to interfere. You didn't need me.
And yet, here you are.
Over the next few weeks, Lucien kept appearing at her firm's project sites, at charity events, even at her lectures. Always distant, always watching. Celeste had recovered and was now subtly bitter. She began showing up too, sometimes with Lucien, sometimes alone, marking Sarah with territorial glances.
He's never followed anyone like this.
She told Sarah once, sipping champagne at a gala.
It's ironic. You married him, and now he's chasing you as if trying to undo fate.
Sarah smiled politely.
I never asked him to.
No,
Celeste said.
but I think he wishes you had.
Sarah visited her old mentor, an aged architect named Madame Richer, who had known both her and Lucien's family.
You don't build a future by erasing your foundation.
Rachet said.
Even broken buildings have a story to tell.
Sarah thought of Lucien, his sudden disappearances, his unexpected vulnerability, the way he watched her work, like it mattered more than the stars. One night, Lucien appeared at her apartment again, drenched in rain, holding blueprints.
These are yours.
He said.
The ones you submitted anonymously 5 years ago to our foundation. I kept them. I built my home based on them.
She blinked, stunned.
You knew my work before we married.
He nodded.
It's why I agreed to the arrangement. I was curious. And then after the wedding, I couldn't shake it. You haunted me.
You didn't even know my face.
No, but I knew your mind. And now that I've seen both, I'm lost.
A fire broke out at one of Sarah's project sites. Deliberate arson. Investigation traced it back to someone close to Celeste. Lucien confronted her. Her jealousy had mutated into sabotage.
I gave you everything,
She told him, weeping.
and still, you chased a ghost.
Sarah stood outside the burning structure, smoke curling around her like fate. Lucien joined her, quiet.
I'm sorry.
He said.
For everything.
She didn't respond, but she let him hold her hand. Lucien didn't push. He simply stayed. At site cleanups, design meetings, rooftop dinners. He watched her draw, asked questions, and brought coffee. Slowly, her walls cracked.
Why me?
She asked one evening.
Because you see the world in blueprints and turn it into beauty. Because even when I disappeared, you didn't stop building. And because I want to earn what I never deserved.
Months passed. Lucien bought the ruins of her burned project and rebuilt it with her. It became a haven for young, underprivileged designers. They kissed once, under scaffolding, covered in paint, too tired to overthink it. And they didn't look back. At a TED Talk a year later, Sarah spoke of buildings and broken beginnings.
Architecture teaches us resilience.
She said.
We learn that even with weak foundations, we can reinforce, rebuild, restore. Love, like design, isn't always about symmetry. It's about strength, forgiveness, and the courage to start again.
In the crowd, Lucien smiled. Not as a CEO. Not as an heir. But as a man who had finally seen his wife and chosen to stay. In the end, love isn't about erasing the past. It's about rebuilding from it. Sarah and Lucien didn't just rediscover each other. They rebuilt what was lost, piece by piece. A second chance doesn't come easily, but when it's chosen, it's stronger than ever. Sometimes, the greatest love stories aren't the ones that begin with a perfect start, but the ones that rise from the ashes of what once was. Thank you so much for watching and supporting this channel. It truly means the world to me. Whether you're a longtime viewer or just discovered these stories, I'm so grateful you're here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more stories. Thanks again, you're the heart of this channel.